For my first launch, it came from a friend of mine who had me MC her women's conference. So the MC, I think, had dropped out. And she's like, yo, Danielle, this conference is in New York this Saturday. And at the time, I was actually broke, living in Oakland. And I was barely had enough money to go to this conference. And she's like, I'll pay you $400 to MC it. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And it was like that weekend. So I like scurried like notes together and stuff. And I hosted it. While I was hosting it, I couldn't help but like drop some, you know, this what I know, but whatever, all around like courses and monetizing your personal brand. And so at the end of the conference, I didn't have a speaking spot. So she said, yo, they're emailing in and they're saying like you were their favorite part, but can they learn more? Do you have a class? And I was like, she's like, can you do a webinar? And I was like, okay. And she was smart. She's like, I'll tell you what, you do a webinar, whatever you make, we're going to get a cut. And I was like, all right, bet. So I did a webinar. We had 200 women on. And that was my first time doing that webinar. It was not pretty, but I did it. And that converted. And I made $13,000 from that group. And then from there, that's when I started running ads. So that's when I spent like a couple thousand. How much did I spend? I think like, $1,400 on ads. And then I made the rest of the money from that.
Did you teach yourself ads? Did you take a course? Did you go to Udemy?
Combination. So I first hired someone to set it up for me because I knew I would get lost in the setup. So I was like, if you could just set it up for me, I could take it from there because I'm a marketer. I can figure it out. So I had someone set it up and I had her run the first set. Then after that, I took over. And so I was running my ads for, I guess, like about a year, but all the way up to like $30,000 a month. I was running my own ads.
Spending $30,000 a month.
Yes. And making 6 figures.
Goodness gracious. All right, listen, every single week, every episode, you hear me talking about themorningmeetup.com. It's the community. Let me show you what's happening here. Every single morning, Monday through Friday, there's 400 plus people on a Zoom call, right? We're learning, we're talking, we're growing together, and this is you. There's all these people here. It's all these people in the morning meetup. Hundreds of people reading books, growing. We get together quarterly. It's amazing. And for some reason, you just keep looking at, just go to themorningmeetup.com and get in the circle. And then you'll be like way happier. Just themorningmeetup.com. Let's get back to the episode. Welcome to another edition of the Social Proof Podcast where we find dope people that did dope stuff. And I'm excited about this interview because you have stalked me on the internet. I'm like, yo, on my Facebook, on my Instagram, I'm playing like chess on my little phone. I'm like, yo, here goes Danielle again. Golly. Like I play spades and I see your ad. I'm like, yo, Danielle, leave me alone.
You're like, chill.
Danielle Leslie, you're a legend.
What's up? Aw, thank you. You're a legend. No, I'm so grateful to be here. This is so dope.
Really?
You're really incredible.
And I'm honored because you don't do a whole lot of interviews, man.
I don't. You make me sound like a celebrity, like somebody. You don't do a lot of interviews.
You are.
But no, you're right.
No, you are. Anybody in the digital marketing space, anybody that's had a course, anybody that's ever done a webinar, I think they've taken a part of your blueprint to do it. Because you've been doing it for how long?
6 years.
6 years.
Ooh, that's a lifetime. In internet years, that's a long time. Years. That's like a century.
What is it? 2020. So 20, that's 18? No.
16.
2016. I was in a 1-bedroom apartment.
So was I.
When you was making millions. But you was living.
I wasn't making millions in 2016 when I started.
Oh, no, when you started.
Yeah.
But, okay. So when did you have your first $1 million year?
2018. So 2 years after later. That. Yeah. And I made majority of that in the last 9 months of that run. I spent the first year and some change. Like I launched it. Then I went into my cave of self-doubt, got scared.
Whoa. What do you mean?
Like I launched my first course. Well, by the way, this is like my 3rd course that I've launched, right? So talking about course from scratch, I launched that. And even though I knew what I was doing, I had coached people at Udemy, like I had all the receipts, but still, and my therapist tells me this, self-doubt is like my thing. So I launched the first version of it. I had students go through it. I made 20K. And then I told myself, some voice in my head was like, it's not good enough. You need to make the course better. Even though people got results, still, So I just kind of went into hiding for about 9 months.
Wow.
And I did other random things. Like I would take a random like speaking gig. I would do consulting over here, but I would not touch my course. Like I was just doing videos for it. I was doing all the things that weren't really moving the needle, basically.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So you said that was 2018?
So between 2016 and 2017 is when I was like in the self-doubt cave.
Gotcha. Oh, I got you. I got you. Even after you get results.
Yes.
What does your therapist say about that?
Self-doubt. So she says, she says like the thing about you, Danielle, is you doubt yourself. And that's it. I don't know if it's...
Did you figure out where it came from or...
So I know that maybe. I know that my mom is high achieving too. She's amazing. She's the reason I have the work ethic I have. I have like these high standards for myself. And it's like I would bring home the straight A's with the like B+. And then my dad would be like, golden child. And he'd be like dancing around the kitchen. And he'd be like, Danny, great job. And then my mom would be like, Danny, this B+ in social studies. Like, what are we going to do about this? Like, what are we going to do? So it was that. It was a great balance. But maybe it's that I know that I can, quote unquote, do better. Yeah. And the first thing I look at is the gap from where I am to where I can be. And so that can sometimes hold me back because I forget to look at, but look at this pot that you created. Like you got all this good stuff. Yeah.
Got you. You haven't been like as outside lately. Like I would go to like, or I didn't even go to a lot of events, but I see you on like flyers for events and stuff like that years ago. But probably, I don't know, maybe I haven't seen you as much in the last year or two during the pandemic and all that. Where you been at?
I don't think you ever saw me. I mean, I was never really outside. Yeah. I'm like, what flyers are we talking about?
You was at BYOB?
I was!
Yes. With that same smile. That smile.
That was one time I went outside. Shout out to Drew. Yeah, that was an amazing event. Yeah. Okay.
So what have you been? So how do you be making money without being out there like on Instagram Live and building your brand and all that kind of stuff?
So number one is ads, right? So what I did is I looked at how I like to show up. And it's like, what lends to my well-being that can also help me create wealth? So I'm not going against who I am, because then that's when it'll be stressful and I'll hate what I'm doing and I'll forget why I got into it in the first place. So in the beginning, it was me asking, okay, what is the most scalable way to grow this thing that doesn't involve me showing up live? Because, I'm an introvert. I get anxious. I will overthink things. I will need to show up perfect. Like, you know what I mean? I'm getting better. We getting more in flow. Good. But so that's why in the beginning I said, okay, I'm going to do a weekly webinar. And I did Landmark. I don't know if you've heard of Landmark, but I did a program called Landmark. And my big takeaway from that is to keep my word to myself. I realized I didn't really keep my word to myself. Like I would just
word to yourself.
Word to myself.
Your word to yourself. Mm-hmm. What do you mean?
When I say I'm going to do something, to do it.
Yeah.
I would say I'm going to do something and be like, oh, I said that. Who said that? I don't remember saying that.
Talking to you, huh?
Mm-hmm. So I learned and I said, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit to a weekly webinar. And my goal is to make $1 million in a year. If I can do this webinar, I believed in my mind, if I can do the same webinar every week for a year straight, I will make $1 million. And I committed. This was the end of 2017, going into 2018. And it was wild because if you look at the amount of money I made nothing, essentially nothing from like January, February of that year to September because I was doing all the things. And then in October is when I said, I'm going to keep my word to myself. I am going to do this weekly webinar. And that I made like 3K, then I made 7K, then I made 10K, then 20, then 40, then had my first 6-figure month. Never looked back from there. So starting from that month, when I started doing the weekly webinar, I generated $1 million in 9 months. And before that, the most I had seen was like 20K, from my course, like a little change here, a little change there. So that's what was possible when I kept my word to myself. And so during that time, I said, this is what we're doing. Like we're not going outside. And I developed like a yes to no ratio. like a high yes to no ratio. I was saying no to everything. And in fact, to the point where I would have everyone send emails to my support email because I was like, I don't even want to be tempted because I might mess up and say yes. So I was like, I don't even want to see it. So I just kept myself in my living room. So I'd show up for 2 hours a week and I would make my, 40K and then eventually 6 figures on a night. And I just kept doing that. And so ads, I knew were the thing that were measurable and scalable. So I knew I started out spending $20 a day. Spent $60, got, 26 leads or whatever, had 14 people show up live and I got 3 sales. So I made like $3,000 to $4,000. So turned $60 into $3,000. And I was like, okay. And I put it in my little spreadsheet and then I would rinse and repeat. And so I just kept doing that. And at the time I was running my own ads. So I would just keep the ads running, spend a little more, spend a little more. And then I was like, okay, bump this. We gonna 5X it. And then I 10X'd it. And that's how it took me from like a 40K month to a 6-figure month. And then it took me to like the million. So that's why I haven't been outside. That's why I chose ads and webinar. I was like, let's keep our word on this because we can measure it and we can predict it.
But how do you get people? So you did the same webinar every week for a year. Is it the same webinar?
2 years, actually. Your girl overdid it. I actually did for 2 years straight.
Sheesh.
I did over 100 times in a row.
Is it the same webinar?
Same exact. I think I maybe modified it twice in those 2 years.
You know what? Were you doing webinars before or after Neo? Before.
Yeah.
He stole that from you. He did. Yo, because now he talks about how he was doing a webinar every single week. And that's really how he really dialed in.
Oh yeah. That was my secret sauce. That was the key. I remember meeting Neo at BYOB.
Right, I'm about to tell him, I know you got that. Because he did that every single week. But it's the same exact presentation.
Same one, because you're doing it to new leads.
But how do you know? How do you know it's not some of the same? My anxiety would kick in and say, yo, it's 3 people on here to know my next slide. You know what I mean? You didn't?
No, because of the funnel I set up, right? So I have my ad spend that would go to new leads every week. So I would have a set of new leads every Wednesday. And then the email follow-up would only go to those new leads. That's it. Every week, a new set of leads.
Because you're not necessarily promoting Join My Webinar on your Instagram page.
Exactly. But even if people already saw it, then they already saw it. They're not going to come. And a lot of times, I've been on webinars 3 times. And I get halfway through and I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. Okay. But I'm like, is that good? I needed to hear it again. But yeah, and then 3 to 4 times a year, I would do a live launch. And that's when I would email the whole list.
A live launch of another product or service?
Same product, same webinar. Don't play with me. Yes. Because it had been months since they saw it. So it was oh yeah, refresher. And then now I'm ready to join. Boop. When we looked at the data from one of our big launches, this is a multi 6-figure launch. And we're okay, I was curious, how long have the people been on our list who joined Course from Scratch from this launch? And half of them were about 40% were new leads. So they had joined in the last 30 days. But over half had been on the list for longer than a year. So they just needed to see the message multiple times. And if you look at the tags in Active Campaign, you'll see oh, this person registered for the July webinar, the the December webinar, and then they joined.
Wow. Oh, so you're real analytical.
So I learned when I worked at Udemy. So yeah, working at Udemy, I was on the marketing team.
You worked at Udemy?
Yes! In 2012. Listen, I'm an OG.
Oh, we about to go back in the story.
I'm an OG. I was there from 2012 to 2015. So before this whole industry, when it was at the very beginning.
Okay, take me back. How old were you when you were working at Udemy?
In my mid-20s.
In 2012?
Uh-huh. Oh, you doing the math? Is that you carry the 1, multiply times 3.
I guess you look so young.
Thank you.
But I guess you have been in the game for a minute. So 2012, you worked at Udemy. What were you doing before that?
Before that, I was, what was I doing before? Oh, I had a startup. I had launched my first online course. It was called Press Play. And then before that, I had a failed startup. So I launched a startup in 2010 2010, co-founded it with 2 other women. We raised venture capital. We raised like almost 100K, which was nothing today. In today's world, back then it was a lot. And then we went on tour. We did meetups for entrepreneurs, for people building their personal brands online. We had speakers come. We did a 13-city US tour. We raised like 10K in sponsorship dollars. We slept on couches because that wasn't enough to cover our travel. And yeah, we did that 13-city tour. And then after the tour, we got accepted into an accelerator program and got more funding. And that's when the pressure was on to build a product. And so we started building what was the equivalent of just a blog. And we recruited over 60 content contributors. And they were all like first-time entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs. And they sent in content. And that was our first play at how we could, build a business. But after, about a year, whatever, 2 years or so, we didn't have any more money. We didn't have any customers and we didn't have no more hope. So that's when I moved back in with my mom. And that's when I learned about online courses and launched my first course.
So you were like doing digital marketing in 2010.
Before that. Okay, that didn't even begin in my digital marketing. I came out the womb doing digital marketing. No, I was just blessed to end up at Berkeley in Silicon Valley. So it's like I was in college, and my junior year, I took a web design class. And Tim Westergen, the founder of Pandora, was a guest speaker. And it was when, he had just raised money, and he told us about how he got 50 no's, and the 51st no was the yes, or the 51st response was the yes for his money. Like right. So I just happened to be in the right place at, innovation when this stuff was just starting. And I got exposed to web design and like being a startup founder. Like my dream in college was to found a startup, build it, and sell it for $2 million. Like, that's what my goal was. I was like, yo, we about to be rich for like generations. We're going to sell it for $2 million. But that was my dream in college. Yeah.
What year were you in college? Because I'm trying to put together like what
the timeline
came out. Yeah.
I was in college from 2003 to 2008. I did the 5-year plan.
Gotcha. I actually graduated high school 2002.
Oh.
Actually. So yeah, we were around the same.
Yeah.
So this was when Facebook really started getting going.
Yes.
And it was just for college.
Yes.
I think it might have expanded after you by the time you were there. But it was just college.
I remember that. It was.
And were you interested in that? Were you like, oh, it's Facebook? Were you on Facebook?
Not really. Because to me, back then it was more of a social tool. And I wasn't very social. As we've gone over, I don't really be outside. So I wasn't into it as a tech product. It didn't appeal to me in that way.
Gotcha. So what was your first interaction with social media at all?
It was, so I had an internship that was an SEO internship. So not quite social media, but in aspects. Yeah, that was my first internship when I was in college.
Sense now. Why because I couldn't do it. I couldn't just sit there and just be on the computer. Like, I got to go on live. I got to go on tour. I got to be outside.
I wish I could be more like you.
No, you don't. Because you can't stop ever. But that's why I'm there. I just never seen somebody build such a powerful brand on social media and sell so many courses without much interaction from the person. And that's what I've always been fascinated about you. But you took an SEO class, so you're starting to understand this thing, how it works.
How to drive traffic. Exactly. Yep.
What'd you learn? What's one of the things that you learned working there that still sticks with you today?
Oh, so it's interesting. The one biggest thing I learned is also probably the one biggest rule I broke that made me successful. So the one biggest rule was definitely optimizing for keywords. Thinking very specifically about your audience and what they're typing in, as opposed to you saying, oh, these are my like fancy words to describe my business. So that was the one takeaway. And then how I broke that rule is that when I launched my course, I really focused on my story. I focused on what I talk about is your culture ad. Like, I'm not here to fit in. I'm here to add value. I'm a culture ad. I have a cultural advantage. So what are those things that make me different from anyone else? Because it is supply and demand. So it's like, if there's only one of something, if there's only one in the supply, the demand is going to be real high because you can only come to me to get these set of experiences. Like, I am the authority of all these things that no one else is. And just like everyone is the authority of their own story. So you don't even need to have all the accolades, but like I have to go to you to get like your story. So I would say that's the one rule that I broke that made me successful, was using my uniqueness as opposed to playing to what is everyone searching for. That's like, okay, that's the first level. But in order to stand out from everyone else and to have that exponential growth that I had and be that first mover, it's to create your own lane by tapping into like, what is my specific story?
Listen, if I was going to teach you how to make $1 million, would you give me 10,000? Like if I had a course teach you how to make $1 million a year positive, you're going to make $1 million, would you give me 10,000? Of course you would. It's no brainer, right? So in a calendar year, we make 7 figures with the podcast. But there's 21 things that I extracted from that you're going to need to launch your podcast. But I only got time to give you 3 right now. One is you need a distribution platform. The distribution platform is what you upload your podcast to. That platform sends it to Spotify, Apple, Google Play, so that your supporters can actually listen to your podcast. You're also going to need a microphone. You need a really good microphone so it's crispy audio. And 3, you need an income strategy. This is not necessarily a hobby, unless you're going to make it a hobby. But I can teach you how I made the 7 figures with these 21 things. Now, the good news is you don't have to give me 10,000. My ebook is only $37, okay? So listen, go to podcastebook.com and get the 21 things that you need. And I can explain it in detail, all the things that you need, okay? Podcastebook.com. Let's get to the episode.
How that translates like tangibly could be everything from my webinar title. You know, how in the early days, I did really well on Instagram. That was my first kind of claim to fame. So grew my following to 20,000 followers in a year.
Which
and then
is huge. 20,000 used to be impossible. Getting over 1,000 used to be, oh my gosh.
Yes, that's true. And then I started making $25K per month from Instagram organically. So I wasn't running ads regularly. So
what year?
This was 2017. Yes, 2017.
Right.
So so then what that looks like, right, is now taking my experience and turning that into a webinar title. So instead of like how to launch your course, I said how I make $25,000 per month from my Instagram, from my online course, like without doing it for the gram 24/7. Because even back then, that's what my claim, like I was like, I'm not doing the most for this platform and I'm still making this. How? I'll tell you on the webinar. So so I would say leaning into the uniqueness was kind of like the breaking the rule that made it successful.
Are you on YouTube heavy?
No.
No?
The only videos I have on YouTube are videos we run as ads.
You're the ad queen. But I'm going to ask you, just from your perspective. So I went to this class, not a class, it was a conference on like growing with video. And I realized that my thumbnails are too small. And I need to make a bunch of tweaks.
Okay.
But that's kind of me playing into the algorithm or the SEO on YouTube. Do you not advise that?
Oh, yeah. So I do believe in best practices and I believe in our instincts. So if you have a marketer's...
Dang, that just sat in my spirit. You said best practices and instincts.
Yes.
Dang, that's good. And sometimes you have an instinct about something that isn't necessarily the best practice, but you just feel something. And I guess at that point determines kind of like how successful you'll be, especially if you've done enough research. Okay, so just talk to me about what I'm trying to talk to you about right now.
Yeah. Oh.
Because it's mad stuff going on through my head and I'm trying to figure it out. And I'm actually looking for coaching right now.
Oh. I love it. All right, so I'm supposed to ask you a clarifying question and all that, right? So I mean, in that case with the thumbnails, what I would say is, first of all, what are the results you're getting? Because it's one thing for someone to tell you, here's a best practice, your thumbnails are too small. However, if you, as David Shands, are killing it and you're getting the click-throughs that where the data says, we love your thumbnails, like this is working, then your thumbnails ain't too small.
It wasn't.
Okay.
I just learned the click-through rate thing. I thought we just came up with a cool title. When my guy, he made the thumbnail, I was like, ooh, that's hard. Let's do it. And I put it on there. And
you're like, ooh, where everybody at? Where the clicks at? Yeah. So so then you ask yourself about the litmus test. So everything has a litmus test. How do we know if this is working or not working? and you want to look at the piece of data closest to what the asset is. In this case, the asset is the thumbnail. What's the piece of data closest to it? The click-through rate. The click-through rate is what, like, people see the thumbnail. Are they clicking it? So that is our litmus test. Is this working or not?
Got it.
So when you look at the CTR, if you're like, oh yeah, this ain't given, then most likely maybe the thumbnail is too small.
Gotcha. Okay. So yes, you broke that rule working SEO, but you start to understand search engine optimization there, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
And how did you take that into Instagram? Because it's not the same.
It's not. So what I'll say is I didn't necessarily take it into Instagram. It did help me with Instagram ads a little bit, but to be honest, it just gave me a healthy foundation and understanding of the architecture that is the internet. Like, where are the channels where we can get traffic, and how does the algorithm decide what to rank higher than the other thing? So it gave me at least a foundational understanding. And once you get the foundational understanding, that's a great place to be to make up your own rules or, imagine things. So what I would say is the next step from there, it gave me the foundation to then, when I worked at Udemy, I knew about SEO. I knew about that channel of organic marketing. And so then while I was at Udemy, I worked for, my boss was brilliant. He's amazing. And I got to learn from him. And that's where I learned about data analytics. I couldn't learn SQL for the life of me though. Have you tried to learn SQL? I know. Yeah.
I tried to learn. I don't even know what SQL is. Like, what are you talking about?
That's where my line was like, I could do a pivot table, but SQL. But yeah, so that's where I learned to like track the data because I was responsible for coaching. I essentially did what I do now. Like I would coach individuals who were launching their courses, and I would help them determine how should you brand it, how are you going to grow your audience, what should you title your course, what should you price it at, and how do you get a 10K launch, even if you don't have an audience. So because I had like the foundational knowledge, I could help advise them on these are keywords you should include in your course title so you can rank on Udemy's platform, right? Because Udemy is like an Amazon. It's a big old search engine for online courses.
Oh, wow.
So I could use that SEO knowledge to advise them, use these keywords because you'll rank higher, and though add your specific twist. What is your culture add? What are those few things, that one, result that you're going to add to make yourself stand out? So I was able to better advise them when I was there because of that.
All right. So Udemy, for those that don't know, it's a course platform where course creators upload their courses and you can buy them. It's a marketplace.
Exactly.
So not like a job where you put your course on there and you sell it to other people. But if you're looking for anything,
it's like an Amazon for online courses.
It's almost like the thrift store though, a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. It's a discount. It's a dollar store.
It was a course like $10 on that.
Yes.
I was like, dang.
Yes.
I bought it. But I bought that joint.
Yeah, it is. It's a marketplace.
Is that their mission?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't start out that way. But over time, we saw that people responded to the $10 deals really well. Like at first, we started running them seasonally, like in the holidays. And then the customers responded really well. And I think that's where the understanding came in that the people on Udemy or like any marketplace, these are avid learners and they don't necessarily want to fully master one thing. They want to learn about a bunch of things.
Correct.
So that's why the $10 price point really spoke to them. And that made like my course from scratch and like what I teach a differentiator because I'm like, nah. Course from scratch is for you if you want to master this and you want to get results. So you want implementation help. You want to launch your course, make 10,000. You want to create a framework that you could turn into a book proposal, get a 6-figure book deal from it. You could get a 5-figure speaking engagement from the same framework. You could get a corporate consulting gig for 5 figures for the same framework. Like, showing you how to actually master creating your own framework from your story and then marketing skills to launch it and make 10K and then scale it up to $1 million if you want.
Gotcha. So when you started selling what was your first course that you had and made money off of? What was that?
It was called Press Play.
Press Play.
And it helped people. It was based on my experience organizing that national tour and raising the brand sponsorships. That's what I did when I co-founded the startup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it went way back to 2010. I launched my first course in 2012. 2012.
Gotcha. Hold on. Joe, can you get this call real quick? Hold on. Here you go. So your experience with your failed startup but you had enough wins in there where you can create a course on what I do know works.
Yes.
And you started selling that. How was that launch?
Oh my gosh, I did all the things. I did webinars, or my version of a webinar, which is not what it is today. It was pretty bootleg, but I did my version of a webinar. I did my version of affiliates. Mm-hmm. So I would bring on like guest speakers. Mm-hmm. So I did a series of like 3 or 4 of them, and I brought on guest speakers who had either like a name or an audience. And I would bring them on. I built my email list, and then I did some like YouTube shows. So I had a show called Big Fish, Big Tip, and I didn't understand that was an innuendo, but I had another show.
That's a what?
Big Fish, Big Tip.
What is that?
Like big tip? What do you mean? What is it? I'm sorry. Are we?
Okay, first explain. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I'm slow. Because I didn't know what innuendo meant first.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Like it's a sexual reference. And I didn't. No, but I didn't mean it to be. I didn't know.
Clickbait. Eh?
I was young and naive, y'all. I didn't know what a tip was. But yeah, it was supposed to be an actual marketing tip. Like, yeah. So I did a series of like TV shows. So this is when I was broke, living with my mom, and my sister Giselle would use my mom's flip cam. You remember flip cams?
Yeah.
She would use a flip cam and she would record me in the backyard because my mom had like a park in her backyard. So we'd go in the park and I would be like recording. We'd go down to the beach. It'd be all windy and my hair would be blown. It would all and I'd be like, welcome to Big Fish, Big Tip. So I did all the things in short. Like I did all the tactics that you were supposed to do. And then I got one sale for $1,000. And it wasn't even through all those tactics. It was through an online course that I had joined, and I posted in the community group. And I was like, hey, here's one of my episodes that I just did. I would love your feedback. And a girl saw my video and she DM'd me or private messaged me on Facebook and was like, can you help me actually? And we got on the phone and I sold her over the phone.
Wow. So that was the sale. So none of the stuff that you prepared for worked.
No. One piece of content led to a phone call, done, $1,000.
Incredible. Okay. Were you discouraged?
Absolutely. I was definitely discouraged. It would have been months of staying up until 3 a.m., watching Community, not showering, eating the Trader Joe's frozen food, like all of that. And I was like, all this for one sale for $1,000? So that's when I joined Udemy. So that's when I said, I need mentorship. I need to work somewhere where they have the blueprint.
Yeah, I need a job.
Yes, exactly.
But you specifically knew you wanted to do this. So did you apply to Udemy?
I did. I cold emailed the head of BD. I also messaged the head of marketing on Facebook. I found them in a Facebook group. And I sent a very like custom email to them, essentially creating a role for myself saying, these are the things I've done. This is where I think you guys need help. This is how I can help you guys. What do you think about a chat?
What year did they start?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I don't
Long before you started?
No, I was employee 27.
Really?
I was early. They had just closed, I think, their Series A. But yeah, I was like number 27, very early. And they just went public like a few months ago.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I bet some of those people see you and they're like super proud of you. Like, wow.
Yeah. They're awesome.
Goodness. All right. So how long were you working there?
For almost 3 years.
And that helps you understand courses.
Yes. And I got to create my second course while I was there.
And what was that second course?
It was how to market your Udemy course. So it was just based on what I was teaching.
Specifically Udemy though?
Yes.
Okay.
So I created it for the company internally to help all of our instructors better market and sell their courses.
Got it. That's hard. Yo, people don't realize like the journey, everything that you're saying adds up to, it's starting to really make sense because you understand the psychology behind someone buying a course, period. Because you've been in the space.
Yes.
And why did you quit?
Yeah, so I actually got recruited by another startup that's in the hair and beauty space. And they were a double-sided marketplace similar to Udemy. They needed a head of marketing. It was like dream role, Black founded, like it was super dope. So I was poached essentially.
Oh, wow.
So I went to work there. Yeah.
For how long?
For only 7 months. And then they laid off like a third of the company.
Oh, wow.
7 months
Including Danielle Leslie.
Including Danielle Leslie.
Goodness
So I was
gracious.
like, I guess I wasn't doing the full job if I was a part of the, okay, got it. But yes. Yeah. But while I was there, I got to create another course for our hairstylists. So I got to like interview a ton of them, figure out best practices, and create a course that helped them market themselves. And they were selling hair. So they were creating their own hair stores. So I showed them how to build their brands on Instagram and sell hair.
Did Udemy give you like a cut of the sales for the course you created?
Absolutely not. No, they didn't. Yeah. Because I was, an internal employee.
Yeah.
And I mean, everything I learned was because I was an employee. So It makes sense why I wouldn't.
So 7 months later, you leave. Then what happens?
Then I am laid off with no job, and it is a week before Thanksgiving. And I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? Am I going to have to move back in with my mom, start all over again? And I went to Friendsgiving. A friend had a bunch of us over, and I told him, but I was so embarrassed. I was like, I just got laid off. And he's like, great, you can work for me. And I was like, you're kidding, right? He's like, no. And he had just sold his startup, and he's like, I need someone to be over my small business marketing arm. I want to bring you in. So yeah. And so I would go into the Berkeley WeWork, and I would be working. So I had a full-time contract like that weekend. And then I just kept reaching out to friends. So I reached out to another friend, and she was working on, it was Zim at Travel Noir. She was working on an online course, but not until like a year later. She's like, maybe can we bump it up so we can hire you now? And I was like, sure. And then my best friend hired me to help her do some copywriting, like write her ebook. And then she referred me to another coach to help her with her course. So yeah, within that first month of being laid off, I made over $10,000.
Oh, wow.
And it was because people saw me as an expert because I had those courses already.
Yeah. So what was the first course that you dropped? Well, the second course now, I'd imagine, that you dropped that it's just you.
Course from scratch.
Course from scratch. That's the one you sell today.
Yeah. So it was Press Play in 2012. And then it was the internal Udemy course, the internal course at the other beauty startup, and then Course from Scratch.
What year is this?
2016.
2016. So what is that? What was that about? What was that course about?
Course from Scratch?
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, so it helps people create and launch their online course. So more specifically, it helps you uncover your story and turn that into a teachable framework, and then helping you find who can benefit most from what you know, and then helping you find your first 5 to 10 customers. And we help you launch what we call your MVC, your minimum viable course. So it's a live version of your course. So you're not locking yourself in the cave, trying to like record the videos and upload it and edit and all the, nope. Teach it live, get your first butts in seats, and then go from there.
When you say teach it live, meaning we'll put together a workshop or something like that. Teach it live, record it, then sell the live. Really?
Yeah, that's one pathway people take. So you would teach it over a 4 to 6 week period though. So you would take let's say one of our students, Alicia Price, she started out with her story, which was she grew up in a single parent household, so single mom. And then when she grew up, she ended up becoming a single mom, and she successfully co-parented her son. And so she's like, I'm really good at this co-parenting thing. And in her professional job, she did mediation. So she's like, I'm really good at this. And so she knew other moms were struggling with this. And so she created her course on co-parenting. So she turned her story into this framework, made like $13K from her first launch, but taught it live. So it was
Hold on. So there's a course, Ramsey. So she taught a course on co-parenting.
Yes. You would teach a course on anything.
It made $13,000.
Yes. And that was just the first time that she launched it.
What'd you tell her? How did she do that? Like, where do you find the co-parents? Like, and then you got to find the people who want to admit that they're having a problem co-parenting. Like,
yes.
And if you're going to put together like this workshop for 6 weeks, where you find the people to come for 6 weeks?
Yeah. So for her, she found them in a couple places. One is organizations. So she actually, part of that $13K, 7K came from a nonprofit organization that worked with single moms. So she plugged in there. So she went on LinkedIn, she went, looked around and found these nonprofit organizations. And one in particular hired her to work with their single moms.
Wow.
Because they had the funding for it.
I want to invite you to pick my brain.
Mine too. Mine too.
Yours too?
Mine too.
Yours too.
They can
Okay,
pick
you
my brain.
guys. We are so excited because we just dropped our newest podcast series called the Brain Picker Podcast. David.
Oh, it's going down. You get to pick our brain. You have a business idea, a concept. You're stuck. You can't get off the ground. You need the advice of seasoned, experienced entrepreneurs. Not only entrepreneurs that are practitioners, but we got a lot of people that we've been coaching all over the last decade.
All over the globe.
That got receipts.
Not just that, you never know where your next investor might be hanging out. And the word on the street is we got all the connections.
That's a big fact.
We got all the connections. So if you want to sit down with us and pick our brains.
In front of our audience.
And we're letting you pick our brains. We won't even talk bad about you for doing it in front of our audience, bringing your business maximum exposure. Find the link somewhere around here, wherever you see it.
It's there.
And apply
right now
to pick our brain.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's get it.
Let's get it.
And then the other places are like Facebook groups. There are so many Facebook groups for all these different communities, including single moms, co-parenting, parenting tip groups. So people are raising their hand like, I need help. I want parenting tips. So yeah, those are the places she found them.
And this is stuff you teach people, like how to get creative.
Absolutely.
Especially, because you don't need a large file. You didn't even say nothing about posting on the gram.
Exactly.
You didn't say nothing about going live on the gram.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you do your first launch. You make you make
10,000.
10,000.
Oh, my launch.
Yeah.
Oh, 20K.
20K first launch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And is this when you developed the model of the weekly webinar?
No, so this was before that. So at this point, it was interesting. For my first launch, it came from a friend of mine who had me MC her women's conference. So the MC, I think, had dropped out. And she's like, yo, Danielle, this conference is in New York this Saturday. And at the time, I was actually broke, living in Oakland. And I was barely had enough money to go to this conference. And she's like, I'll pay you $400 to MC it. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And it was like that weekend. So I like scurried like notes together and stuff. And I hosted it. While I was hosting it, I couldn't help but like drop some, this what I know, but whatever, all around like courses and monetizing your personal brand. And so at the end of the conference, I didn't have a speaking spot. So she said, yo, they're emailing in and they're saying like you were their favorite part, but can they learn more? Do you have a class? And I was like, she's like, can you do a webinar? And I was like, okay. And she was smart. She's like, I'll tell you what, you do a webinar, whatever you make, we're going to get a cut. And I was like, all right, bet. So I did a webinar. We had 200 women on. And that was my first time doing that webinar. It was not pretty, but I did it. Yeah. And that converted. And I made $13,000 from that group.
Hey.
And then from there, that's when I started running ads. So that's when I spent like a couple thousand. How much did I spend? I think like, $1,400 on ads. And then I made the rest of the money from that.
Did you teach yourself ads? Did you take a course? Did you go to Udemy?
Combination. So I first hired someone to set it up for me because I knew I would get lost in the setup. Yeah. So I was like, if you could just set it up for me, I could take it from there because I'm a marketer. I can figure it out. So I had someone set it up and I had her run the first set. Gotcha. Then after that, I took over. And so I was running my ads for, I guess, like about a year, but all the way up to like $30,000 a month. I was running my own ads.
Spending $30,000 a month.
Yes. And making 6 figures.
Goodness gracious. You're going from, all right, yo. So you're going from being broke, taking this $400 gig, and then you get a taste of this webinar. You make $13,000.
Yes.
And then you start running ads to a webinar using that same model?
Yes.
And at the end, you sell your course on how to
create and launch
a course. How many times have you had to update that course?
I think it's been 3 times. Yeah. I'm getting ready to update it again.
Really? And I'd imagine some of the foundational principles are the same.
Oh, it's mostly the same.
What's
I'm
changed?
Updating it because of, I call it product shame. Like for whatever reason, you know how like you recorded the content and it's really good content, but you just happen to use like a bootleg like PowerPoint template or whatever because you weren't hiring a designer yet. But the content is still relevant and amazing. So it's more that. It's more like, okay, you've made this much in courses. People expect to see like over the top, or maybe not. This is me again with the high standards. But yeah, no, all of it, I would say all of it is evergreen. One big change we're making is we're adding in more organic marketing. So the reels, like all the things that are working now that I'm not necessarily doing, but we have an amazing community, like members of our CFS brand group, like our more advanced students, they're killing it. They're making the 6 figures, the 7 figures with the reels and stuff. So having them be a part of the course is going to be a huge addition.
So is the webinar model still as strong as it was?
Yes. And yeah, I'll just say yes. So it still converts. We just did a launch and the webinar is converting just as well or even better than like previous launches. So the webinar itself still works. Absolutely.
That model works.
Yes. The question is though, how do you get the leads to the webinar?
Exactly.
And that's where you're seeing the changes in the market.
Right. Because you can't just say, I'm doing a webinar, because to webinar goers, they're like, oh, it's another webinar. So what is the pivot in the conversation that you're using to get people to this webinar?
Yeah. So it's interesting because like there's what I do but I've been in the game for like 6 years. And then there's what I would recommend for someone else to do who maybe is just starting. So for me, as like an established brand, people, you know, when you have brand equity, it's like they know, okay, Danielle, online courses, she's made the millies, like she got it. Cool. So when I do a webinar, they already know what they're going to get. They know what to come for me for. What I would, and I'm marketing it to an existing audience. So they've either already been on the webinar or they're just like, we're adding new content. So we're talking about your offer ladder now. So how not only do you have an entry level course, but how do you then build the next courses that come after? So we have new content that we're teaching. But I would say if I was just starting, I would do 2 things. Number one, I would still do a webinar and I would still keep in mind the keywords and also my unique story. Right. I think that the people who are really leaning into their culture ad, what makes them unique, like putting their personality on it, like putting their story and this random thing and that, like do that, do it your own way. Don't make your page look like everybody else's. Like do your fun photos, do your little selfie video on the landing page, have the little pop-up, have the proof come up, like all those things, like make it yours. It will still work. Like you will still get that high opt-in rate. Yeah.
How did, like you've been again in the game for a minute, how has the course culture changed? Because now everybody has a course. Some good, some bad. There's no way to like really vet it nowadays unless you just trust the person. You've made millions from courses, but how has it changed so far or nowadays?
Absolutely. So a couple changes we're seeing. One, it's a more mature market. So in terms of just price point and what people are open to paying, it's going up. So
it's going up?
Yeah.
Why would people be more willing to pay more now than back then? Because
back then, online education wasn't as trusted. There weren't things like a MASTERCLASS or a Udemy that were everywhere that said it is okay to learn from somebody online. So you just had a few players and like $2,000 was like a lot of money when I bought my first course in 2012. Now it's a more mature market. So you have more mass adoption where 2,000 is nothing because from the mere fact that you're seeing more at 2K, 3K, 5K, 10K, masterminds are like everybody's favorite word, like retreats. It's just the mere fact that you're seeing all these things.
Gotcha. So it's not like I would imagine, okay, I'm saying I have a course. In my head, I think somebody's saying, oh, another course. I already had a course. But that's not the case. They're like, oh, well, is this course the one I'm looking for?
Yes. It's almost like this has become the way to level up. Like, where else are you going to go to get the skills? You're not going to get them in college. You're not going to get them on your job. certain skills, but probably not the ones you want. So you have that. And then you have the macro trend of people moving from wanting to work from home or work from anywhere. So you have social media, like accounts like Travel Noir that popularized working from anywhere, being in these foreign locations, looking sexy on a laptop. So you have that trend where people are like, well, how do I do that? And the place to learn it is from the people doing it. And those people are the ones with courses or masterminds or retreats or programs. So there's also that trend.
So you like lifestyle marketing? You into that?
I love it. I wish I did more of it. It's great. I love it. Why? Wait. How do you define lifestyle marketing? We might have different definitions.
Lifestyle marketing, you stand in front of a Lamborghini.
Oh,
it's not yours.
that.
It's not yours, but you know what I mean?
So,
not that, but you're, okay, so.
That's one aspect of lifestyle marketing, right? That's where it started, right? That's like the Ty Lopez Lambo on YouTube in the, like, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many aspects of lifestyle marketing. So I could argue that lifestyle marketing for me looks like me dressing, like wearing whatever the heck I want, being fully expressed, me showing my beautiful home, how I can see the trees. You don't even need to know how much it costs or where exactly it is, but you see I wake up and I'm at peace. Me showing my like morning routine, maybe doing some yoga, some meditation.
So that's
lifestyle marketing. Like it's just a question of what is the lifestyle you're promoting.
Gotcha, because not everybody wants the Lambo. Some people just want that peace.
That, we're seeing more of that. Or maybe it depends on what energy you're in and maybe your gender or whatever.
Yeah.
But yes, I would say my audience, they want the financial mobility, but they want the independence, they want the freedom, and they want the peace.
Gotcha. What is your take on high ticket versus low ticket coaching?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean? What's my take?
What's your take?
I need like a specific.
What do you think works best? High ticket, low ticket?
So it depends on what your goals are. I am a high ticket girl. So I think like the most I've spent on a program, I remember in one day, I invested in 2 masterminds. One was $6,000, $6,500 a month. So it was like 65 grand. And then the other one
Did it work?
was, they're not doing it anymore. Oh, it did. I can explain like what I learned from it. So that one was 65 grand and the other one was 30 grand. So I essentially spent almost 100K in one day on 2 different masterminds. So I'm a high ticket girl all the way. That is because of my philosophy that I like to collapse time. So I like to do what takes most people 10 years in like 3 months. I'm like, where the blueprint at for that? So even when I started doing my weekly webinar, I invested in coaches and it was like a 10K program. And it was because they had made $1 million in 6 months from a brand new business. So I was like, well, if there's somebody I can learn from, it's going to be them. And they did it through webinars. So I paid them 10K. I got weekly coaching from them. My brain doesn't know the difference of who these guys are and who I am. They're like, well, if my brain is like, they did it, so obviously you can do it too. They're like your best friend now. So then guess what? The next year is when I made $1 million in 6 months. And it was because from just making that 10K investment. So that was the 2018.
You made $1 million in 6 months in 2018? I didn't do nothing close to that in 2018. I didn't do nothing close to that. And it don't really cost you nothing to make it because it's a digital product.
Yeah.
So you ain't got an overhead.
I mean, back then when I hit $1 million, it was me and me. I didn't even have my VA at that time. So it was me and me. I was running my ads, I was doing my webinar, and I was doing my customer support tickets. And I was working maybe like 6 to 10 hours a week because everything was just, same web, like it's the same stuff.
You've been a millionaire for a long time. Can I ask you a question? You don't even have to answer it if you don't want to.
Okay.
What was your highest grossing year in 12 months? Just off of like a course. You don't have to tell me what year it was, but the most you made in 12 months.
Oh, that's going to be different. A year versus 12 months. So I can give you the year. I have a feeling I have a 12-month period that made more than that, but I just don't know what that number is because obviously we usually measure in a year. So it was 9.1 million.
What?
The noises.
I quit. I work for you now. I work for her now. So how you do that? You don't even go nowhere. Yo, you be in your living room.
That's the key. Yo, that's where my exponential growth came from. If you think about that multiplier effect, right? When you do something over and over again, the efficiency grows. So you could just pour gas on it and soar. That's all it was. So in that year, we had a couple things happening.
Okay.
We had the trend of working from home starting.
Yep.
So that's when that became really huge.
And that was your lifestyle marketing. I work from home.
Yeah. Because, I don't be doing new live stuff, but yeah. Well, that's always been a part of my message.
Yeah,
like I invented WFA, work from anywhere. That's always been a part of my message.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I guess at this time is when the world was paying attention more than ever because of what was happening. They're like, I want to work from home.
Gotcha.
This is the key.
Everybody's working. Oh, and you've been putting in all this time. And
so
now
the webinar was dialed in.
Yes.
I had the team ready. We had the capital to spend on ads. We had the email list was already at like multiple hundreds of thousands, So all we had to do was be like, let's go. Let's add. And I did do a live. I did do an IG live. I think that was my first one.
An IG live. I'll be on that joint 3 times a week.
I think I've done like 3 total in my life. And one was like, a group. So yeah, so that was my first IG live out of 3.
You got to explain this because it seems like, because you'll run ads, but it seems like you really understand the psychology of human beings and why they buy and how they buy. Because it's not even that you're necessarily pushing or motivating or trying to inspire people to buy from your personal brand. It's like your systems are just super dialed in. So what am I doing wrong? Just tell me what you're doing right and I just tell myself what I'm doing wrong.
First of all, you're doing incredibly. So let's do that.
I ain't do 9.1 million. Especially not from the crib. You know what I would have to do? Yo, I gotta go on tour. I gotta oh my gosh. Was most of it from your, well, you only have 3 programs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's crazy, man. And you don't do no one-on-one stuff.
And I had just one course up until $10 million total, right? So like I made $10 million from one course from scratch.
The one that you shot in 2016?
Yes. I didn't even introduce a new program, our advanced programs. I finally introduced that after the 10 million mark because people were like, can you teach us how to scale to $1 million? Like, can you please teach us? So that's when I introduced that. So yeah, I really, one thing, and I'm a multi-passionate, like leave me to my devices. I will do 20 things by tomorrow. I will have a new business idea, But like that was one time when I said, I'm going to focus in. But to answer your question about the psychology, so I think you have this. Like you definitely have this. We're kind of
Tell me more. Tell me more, please.
And we were talking about this earlier, like before we got started, just you're so good with people and like cluing into the cues and what might motivate them, what they might be thinking, what they might be desiring. So translate that to an online asset that's going to interact with people. So I know that I've spent a lot of my life being introspective and reflecting on who am I, what drives me, why does that bother me, what am I truly feeling? So I would say my deep level of self-awareness lends to me being aware of the truly like deep motivators, deep fears, deepest desires of people. And I speak to that. And not necessarily literally, but through like my frequency, like vibrationally, like they're feeling it.
How do you get that? How do you do that? Because I still don't understand how, because I don't even think I've ever seen you do a video ad.
Really?
It's all like a picture. It's this big smile picture of you.
That's why probably a photo I took in like 2016.
Yo, it's the same photo.
What
photo? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what photo you're talking about.
It's a big smile. You're just smiling and you're looking like you're having time of your life. I don't know where you're at. That's why when I walked in, you had to smile. You're like, hey, I was like, oh crap, I know that smile. So, but do you do more video or do you do more pictures?
I am the worst. I should be doing some stuff, but my ads team, they've been running the same. They got to work around me because I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do the videos. I don't want to do the ads. I don't want to take photos. Even my photos, they're probably like outdated from years ago.
So that's what I'm saying. How are you getting people to feel a vibration from a picture and some words? The copy and pictures. Help me.
It sounds like you may have answered it. Some.
Take your time.
So you mentioned when you saw me right here, you're like, yo, that's the same smile and energy that I got from your ad.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't it interesting how you picked up on my energy just from a photo of me? Because I was genuinely feeling whatever emotion like you were feeling, like whatever energy that was, I am true, like through and through. So you gonna get that energy through just a still photo.
Yes. I get it. So typically we'll do like a photo shoot for our ads.
Okay,
but
that's good.
But whatever picture, not us, because I don't do a lot of ads. I'm doing a little something. I don't know what we're doing. We're not doing 9.1 million, I'll tell you that. But yes, because I know that I remember you had to be around some water or something. It had to be in a pool or on a beach or something.
Oh, was I wearing a lime green bikini?
Yes.
Got it.
Was that a picture you were using for ads, or was that just a picture of you having a good time?
That was me on vacation. That was in the Bahamas. I was there for 7 days. I worked a total of 45 minutes and I made $40K that week. And that was a big deal for me. That was right before I hit the milli mark. That was like the last vacation I went on right before the milli mark when, and I knew it because I had customer support emails that I was like, I should be answering these, but I'm not going to. But the course still did well. But yeah, that's what you were seeing in that photo.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you came up around the time of Cece, rest in peace. Did you know her?
Yeah, well, I knew of her. Yeah, I knew who she was.
But
Yeah, she was
connect.
legendary. No, I never connected with her.
So you never learned anything from her? It's just like, y'all two are really kind of like the pioneers to me.
Yeah, she was early. You're right.
Yeah, she was early.
Yeah.
But I associate her with you.
Oh, wow.
You were early too.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Who else was in that era? Who else were you looking at for inspiration?
I was looking at Sam Ovens.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at Scott Olford. I don't know if he's still, I don't know if he's in the game anymore. Yeah, it was white men.
I need to start looking at white people.
Only because there were none of us to look at that I knew of. That's the only reason. I'm so glad the landscape is so different now. There's so many of us now that we can look at.
So it wasn't
when
a lot
I
of black
started, no. When the biggest I saw for the first time was when I went to Funnel Hacking Live. And that's when Myron Golden spoke on stage. And I was like, who is this incredible man? And then I met him and everything. And I was like, oh my God, he's incredible. But I didn't see him online. I didn't see his ads, right? So I followed people whose ads I saw because I wasn't in the Facebook groups or the masterminds or anything. I was just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, whatever ads I saw, and it was Sam and Scott.
Dang, you know what? I just went to a conference with Sean Cannell. You know what I'm talking about? Think Media.
No.
Sean Cannell. I'm
gonna need you to figure the name out
but he's dope. He's fire.
Really?
Because I'm normally. That's great. It was his conference. I didn't even know who he was. I didn't know most of the people on the stage.
Wow.
But it wasn't put on. But I think Anthony O'Neill and Aaron, a young lady named Aaron, were the only black people that I saw really. But the rest, I didn't know none of them, right? Mm-hmm. But their information was so valuable and so rich and just giving me a different perspective. I was like, yo, that was what I really figured out. I got to get outside of my backyard.
Oh, what do you mean by outside of your backyard?
So I only typically look at people that look like, I'm attracted to people that look like me.
Got it.
But none of them look like me. And it was literally the most valuable conference I've ever been to.
Wow.
Different perspectives.
Interesting. And see, so yeah, when I started, there were none of us. Yeah. I didn't see us. So I just went, I was like, okay, let me get these white people.
I got an idea for you. Okay, so I got a friend.
Uh-huh.
And I got a friend that's he shot a movie. It's very popular.
Oh, cool.
Well, not a movie, a series, okay?
Why am I getting nervous about what you about?
No. Because because we have this argument, okay? So he's really popular.
Okay.
Really popular.
You said that about 10 times. He's really popular.
Nah, subscribers are crazy.
Okay.
And he shot this, people are really tuned into his content. And he shot a series, a 10 episode series. And he's going to sell each episode for $1.
Oh.
I want to get your perspective on that. I told him sell it for more.
What kind of series is this? Like, is it like reality TV?
No, it's like sketch
comedy.
Yeah, I want to get your marketing mind.
What is he known for? Is he known for sketch comedy?
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Super popular.
So super popular comedian,
Yep.
known for sketch comedy, and he's creating a 10-part series.
That he's going to have people pay for. Yep.
And he's going to have people pay for it. Got it. Because in the comedy space, other ways to get paid for your content is like, let's go on the spectrum. So on this end of the spectrum, it's like doing a deal with like a Netflix or whatever, where they pay you tens of millions, blah, 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 to do that. Then you have the kind of DIY model where you organize your own tour. You might fund it through the ticket sales, maybe a liquor sponsor or something. Cool. And then in this case, he's going direct to consumer. He has a consumer base. He's charging $1 per episode. And then I'm assuming people are just buying it through his own self-hosted site.
Yep. His own promotion. Yep.
And then does he have a membership on the back end of it or anything like that? Is there anything on the back end that he's selling after that you buy the $1?
I don't think there's anything on the back end, but you would put something on the back end if it's going to be $1.
Does he have a desire to teach comedy, sketch comedy? Does he have any products like that?
I don't know.
Okay. So let's say he doesn't, because that's an obvious route, right? If he wanted to teach it, there's a percentage of people who would want to learn it. Mm-hmm. So he could potentially use that as a low ticket to get them in the door and then sell something high ticket if he had that desire. But let's pretend he doesn't.
And I'm a fan. I would pay wherever he charged because I'm a big fan, right? And I just met him through his content. Yeah. So, okay, go ahead. What are you saying?
Okay. So you're going to buy it. And I'm just thinking about the experience now. So you're going to buy it and you're just going to like watch it on your own. Mm-hmm. I mean, he could do more than $1.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, yeah. Do you know why he's charging $1? It's always good to understand people's why. Like, is there a why? I'm like, is there a master plan or is there like what's the psychology? Like, is he here right now?
No.
Is he here right now? Is he wearing a shirt that says yeah?
No, he's not. No, he's not. Have you seen it before? No, but so he loves the craft. He loves the craft and just like he has a good fan base and, put a lot into it. And I mean, my perspective was people just don't value $1 because there's so many. I don't even think you get a burger anymore for $1. It's like $1 something. It's a change for McDonald's, right? But it's like I would pay $5 each. Like it's just because I check his page to see if like he has a new sketch out all the time. So I just want to get your.
So he can charge whatever he wants, and people will buy it. Like it's essentially like the Nipsey album. It's like if he wanted to charge $100 per episode and that was the positioning, people would buy it.
Talk to me about positioning.
If he saw this is my, not necessarily Mona Lisa, but perhaps this is my Kehinde Wiley, intro to the market. Like this is my premium stuff. This is my masterpiece, right? The first masterpiece I'm releasing. It's just the beginning of my masterpiece, my vision for my masterpieces. And this ain't for everybody. Like this is for the true ones. This is for people who appreciate comedy, who get it. And it's going to be, $100 per episode. That starts like people are going to talk about that, first of all. And then people are going to start asking, wait, why is it $100? Are you going to get haters? Of course. Yep. Of course. Is it going to get to you? If there's a part of you that believes whatever they're saying, then yes. But if you wholeheartedly are like, bro, this is not for you. If it ain't for you, like this is my masterpiece and I'm going to put it out and I'm going to put a price on it. And maybe, so what I would think about in that case is, and I'm thinking about this because I'm actually working on an NFT collection. And so with that collection, I'm thinking about who do I want my collector to be? And it's more than just the art. So in this case, it's not just the art. So in my case, it's not just the NFT. It's not just the art. It's about who this collector community is that you will now be a part of. They're only going to be 3,000 pieces. So potentially 1,000 collectors, because they might get 3 a piece. 1,000 collectors for my Genesis collection. And we're going to do a Since 3000 collector session in person. Like, you can only come if you're a collector. So for that collection, that's not going to be $5. You know what I mean?
Because of the way you're positioning the product. Because one thing to say, okay, y'all, here's the product, this is the price. But if you have a product attached with a story, it becomes whatever value that story resonates with somebody in their heart.
Yes.
That is good.
And the other piece here, like with my collection, it is also because it's what's important to me. So what's important to me here is community. So I'm putting it there because I value that. Like, I want to be, we talked about how I don't get outside. So this is a way to bring outside to me.
Yeah.
So I'm a marketer. So I put things out to attract people who are vibrating where I am. I want to hang out with y'all. So let me put this collection out that's all about embodying our past, present, and future selves now. It's Since 3000. And here's the investment to become a collector in our Genesis collection. And we're going to do an in-person session where you get access to all the other folks in the collection. So same here. And guess what? I value this collection because it's going to be by a Black woman designer who's amazing. It's going to be an avatar collection. It's going to look like us. It's going to be the first in the market to be like that. Like, but guess what? It's more than a story. It's what it means to me.
For sure.
Like, it's how deep it is for me. Like, this is truly a masterpiece for the next phase of my life. So is that dollar that he wants to charge per episode, is that a reflection of how he feels about this thing that he's creating? Is it commensurate with how important it is to his life? Or maybe what's important is the reach. Maybe it's important for him to get 100,000 people to buy each episode for $1. Maybe that's what's important to him, and that's why he's pricing it at $1. But if that's where the importance lies for him, he wants to position it that way. He wants to tell that story and say, the why. It's $1 because what's important to me is having 100,000 people be able to watch this. And guess what? We're going to have a watch party on Friday the 13th at 8 p.m. And we're going to tune in here, and I'm going to be on YouTube Live doing live commentary on my own stuff. And you can tune in, but only if you've bought it. Because that's what's important to me.
I just learned a lot in terms of positioning a product. Like, I've heard people say it, but I've never had anyone like really explain how to position something so that in the mind of the viewer, it means more than just the exchange of this for that, this for this amount of money.
Yes.
That's what we put out. Like, we'll list out all the values. This thing does this, 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 and this. Give me $20 versus what it means.
Yes. So that's transactional versus the transformation. So transactional is this for that. You're going to get all these things for this. And then the transformation is, for me, I know the transformation is in the community, is in them being able to like share the same space. And it's in me putting this thing out and feeling proud of it. So the transformation here is being like, yo, I have 100,000 people who bought my series. And they're all going to be like tuning in. Like, that's wild. Like my parents, my grandparents, like, nobody, they didn't have this opportunity. The fact that I can put out my art that I'm proud of, and I can have 100,000 people all pay $1, have access to it, to share in the comedy, to share with the stories I'm telling, because I'm telling comedy that's reflective of my upbringing, of my family. Like, you'll see my dad, my mom, like whoever, like their influences in my art, and I get to share that with 100,000 people. Like, that's huge. That's the transformation that's in there.
So this is the psychology behind your copy. Because you wouldn't say all this in your ad, but you'd be writing it. And I'm starting to understand the transfer of vibration from me seeing an ad to me reading it to me saying, oh, I feel her. I feel her. There's this app. What was the app? Was you on that? You was on that call where David said, the guy that runs my ads, there's an app where we can see, it screen records the person's behavior on the
Heat jar or hot jar?
Hot jar, yes, jar.
Mm-hmm.
I was blown away because I'm thinking somebody watches the video and then they click buy, or they watch the video, skim through, and then leave. We're watching this one person. They're like literally watch the video and they're there and it scrolls up a little bit I'm like, yo, this person's reading the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, he said there was one person, it took them 20 minutes to check out because they're reading through everything. And then they went to this one part and we could see that the person clicked. They were trying to click this thing, but it wasn't a button. Which tells me, wow, some people would be more satisfied if this was a button. So we're like, oh, let's make it something, right? And it just gives us so much data.
Yes.
But when you start talking about like positioning, copy just became really important to me just now. You paint pictures with words very well.
Oh.
Who does your copy? Internal? I can have them?
I mean, I wrote all the copy.
You write all your copy?
And not anymore, but now they just pull from it, you know what I mean, and modify.
Oh, never mind. I'll find my own copy.
Oh no, however, I can totally, yes. I'll recommend her. Yeah, she's dope.
Is she?
Yeah.
Like, so you can like look at my stuff and then change all the words and like really position my offer like.
Oh, I see. No, I did that myself.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just taking and doing iterate. You know what I mean?
You're a goat, man. You're a goat. Do you teach all this in your course?
Yes. I mean, you'll learn. Yeah, I call it tasty content. You'll learn how to write tasty content. Absolutely.
Learn how to write tasty content.
And more importantly, I think what we're getting at here is, yes, it's the tasty content and it's the frameworks and it's the SEO, but I think it's maybe what we got to earlier, the SEO versus the instinct. So yes, I teach all that stuff. And yes, you're going to learn like skills that you can use to grow a business, grow your course and launch it. And you're going to learn by being in the room with me and other people in the community, because that's the energy exchange. Like, you're going to be like, oh, you're going to sit up straighter. You know, you're going to be like talking to your people differently, talking to yourself differently, thinking about yourself differently. But so, yeah.
I feel like I owe you money for this interview, man. I learned so much. And as you talk, I'm going through my head of my own situation and how I'm going to tweak things, how I'm going to change things, how I need to start telling better stories of what it means to me. Not just, because I was thinking you have to tell what it means to them, but sometimes there's value in people respecting, especially your warm audience, of what this thing means to me.
I would say 70-30. It's 70 what it means to me.
Really?
Because I know we're all the same. At the end of the day, as humans, we all the same. What is it, like 99% of our DNA or whatever is literally the same. Like, it's the same. All of it, different races, different genders, 99% of us is the same. Like, we all have the same desires, fears, whatever. So it's like, if you're on a class with me and I'm just sharing what inspires me and what moves me, chances are I know it's going to speak to you. But that's just from, again, me knowing myself. That means if I can see me, I can see you.
Wow. If
I can talk to me, I can talk to you. If I can reach me, like truly reach me, I can reach you.
We friends now.
Oh, I love that.
We are friends now.
By the way, people, I get the message of what this means to you without you having to tell stories or say it or whatever. I just want you to know. Like, I watch clips of you and I'm like, David is a real one. Like, so I feel it.
Wow. You're
You're already beyond doing that. Are you kidding me? Like, way beyond.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. So now we just got to get you married. That would be straight. Listen, you married?
I'm not.
Okay. Being a successful woman, how do you date?
How do I date? Well, I would say...
I don't know if you're dating somebody, but like just in
yeah,
general.
totally. It's definitely very mindful. When you say, how do you date? What do you mean?
What are you looking for?
Got it.
Not looking for?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I would say that at this point, because I have been, in like a relationship before, I've been in relationships. So I think I have a good idea. So I tend to get very specific. What I would say is someone who is really smart, easy to talk to, inquisitive and curious. Like, they treat every moment as if it's either their first time experiencing it or their last time experiencing it. Like, we have that we share like a childlike curiosity in the world. Don't take ourselves too seriously. So like, laugh at anything and everything, even the most inappropriate moments. So inside jokes all the way. is affectionate, not only with like physically, but also with their words. So words of affirmation all the way. And what that tells me is they see people. So, and they are a great communicator. And there's no filter between what they see and what they say. So when they see like beauty or, oh my gosh, I see how you put thought into that or whatever, they say it, they see it. And that means they're in the moment. They're mindful, they're present. They're like eternally present and they soak you all in or things in the environment. But then they share. So I thrive when I'm around that. It's, you know, emotionally supportive.
You have to be like monetarily successful?
I would say, yeah, because at this point, it's an indication of that you're most likely a high performer. Well, here's what I'll say. So I will say that there are two possibilities. If you are monetarily successful, then most likely that means you are a high performer, you're disciplined, good work ethic, and that you set your North Star as being monetarily successful. Now, are there people who are also equally high performers, work ethic, all the things, and they just had a different North Star? Their North Star was maybe to create change in a different way, so they're not monetarily successful, but they have it in other ways? Absolutely. So for me, it's just important, like you are passionate about what you're doing, because I don't want to like be at the dinner table and you're like grumbling about your day and I had to do this and you live a life of like obligations. I want it to be like, I got to do this today. I got to speak to this person and and we're sharing and they can give me insights on my business and what's going on. But someone who's really passionate about what they do and therefore successful, whatever that means in their world.
So the shift leader at Chick-fil-A, like they really got big goals. You feel me?
I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna need you. Listen.
Hey, listen. Okay, I'll let potential, or they got to be like kind of.
All right. I mean,
I'm leaving you alone. All right, man. I gotta do a commercial real quick, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up. I had fun.
I did too. I'm glad you had fun.
This is amazing.
This was so good. I love talking to you. You're like so
Really?
great.
Who's your
yes.
BFF?
Crystal. Her name's Crystal. Crystal Rory. Okay, she's dope.
She's a marketer too?
Yes, but she's known for like website design. Yeah, but she's super dope. She's amazing.
I bet y'all have a blast when y'all go out.
Yeah, we're very different. So
Really?
Yeah, we don't really go out together. Yeah.
Who do you go out? When you go out, where do you go? What do you be doing?
Oh, that was like a weird response, huh? To like,
A little bit.
I know. It's only because she lives
at home. Like, we do be having fun. We be looking at our spreadsheet and all that.
Exactly.
Like,
No, literally, like we get on Zoom and we talk about our businesses and like our lives. And like, she's like my therapist. Like she's inquisitive about your life and why did you do that? And what drove you to do that? So honestly, we have a blast through our conversations. She lives in LA. I live in New York. So we don't see each other very often. And then she has a family. And then, and I'm running around doing things. So that's why. But yeah.
Okay. Well, let me do a commercial real quick. That was odd. Well, this episode is sponsored by The Morning Meetup. TheMorningMeetup.com is the only organization that gathers every day. Let me tell you, I have a program called The Morning Meetup. And literally, Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., I meet with this group every morning for an hour.
Whoa.
Every morning. That
is incredible.
98% of the year, I'm on the call.
Wow.
I love it. I am so into community.
So that's huge. And then how many people do you have on?
Hundreds.
So
Hundreds.
That's wild. They are lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Like one of my biggest times of growth was when I had it wasn't even daily. It was just every Monday at 5 a.m. we would get on. Really? And that was a huge time for growth. So I can't even imagine daily.
Can I get
that's
you to jump
huge.
on the call one day?
Oh, okay.
Just one day.
I see what you're doing, but no, I would love to.
Speak.
No, I would love to. That would be super dope.
They would love you.
Oh yeah, I would love to.
Absolutely
Yeah,
love you.
totally.
But my number one goal is just community, like, because that's what saved my life. Just being in the right environment with other people that are moving in the same direction. So that is the Morning Meetup. So themorningmeetup.com, we got an app. They're like connecting in the app and they're having their own little meetups. I heard that they're putting together a picnic. They didn't even invite me, which is crazy.
Because they know you're going to find out about it.
No, they don't know that. They just don't care. They don't be thinking about me.
So they're like, it's about the community.
It's about the community, which I love.
That's amazing.
Yes. So y'all can go to themorningmeetup.com, or you can just download the app, the Morning Meetup app. It's $79 a month, or right now it's like 60% off for the year. Like, I will talk to you every day, every weekday for a year for like $400 because I love our community.
That is wild.
Absolutely. So yes, Danielle Leslie, the Danielle Leslie will be on the call
Yay!
at some point.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you're gonna love
Really,
it.
that sounds
The
really dope.
energy is nuts.
Oh,
Like the chat is crazy, the engagement,
Mm-hmm.
nuts. So yes, so go to themorningmeetup.com. Thank you so much. I took a lot from this call. I got a question.
Yes.
What do you see yourself doing or accomplishing in the next 5 years?
Ooh.
And I'm asking because I want to watch this interview 5 years from today and say, yo, Danielle said she was going to do it. Look, she said she was going to do that 5 years ago. She did it.
Wow. All right. You ready for this?
Take your time.
So 5 years from now, I will have, so CFS will by then have served, let's say 30,000, help 30,000 people. And CFS is Course from Scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will have launched an NFT collection since 3000. I will have launched a trilogy series. So there will be one representing our past, one representing our present, one representing our future, all under the Since 3000 brand. And we will have collectors, thousands of collectors who are first-time collectors, who are new to crypto, new to NFT, to the Web3 space, who are sharing in real life space too, and helping each other build the future. We'll have artists who have been funded. We would have donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to organizations that are furthering arts and education. We would have a class of people who are now in their late teens and 20s entering careers in Web3 and the artistry, that space. I will have a podcast, the Since 3000 podcast, and that will be a daily show. And yeah, I'll be talking to dope people like you.
Can I be on the show?
Oh my, yes, I would. Are you kidding me?
I'm excited.
Are you kidding? Yes. So podcast, daily show. And then we have, I have a membership platform. So I'm actually talking right now about getting part ownership in a membership platform, which is a long time coming. So so by then we will have thousands of people who are creating their own monthly communities around their interests, around their topics, around their courses. That's going to be super dope. It's like imaginative. It's fun. It's like the design is super amazing. It's optimized for the creator to like do their thing and for the community to like lead it. So that has thousands of people in it. And then by then I have a family. I have a family, and I have some kind of talk. I don't know if it's a TED talk, but it's like a talk. And then I have a book.
A TED talk.
I know. Like I told you, I was in my season of no.
Yeah, we'll get you a TED talk. That's easy.
You're right. I know that's like the 2015 me who really wanted that. And she coming out, she like, we still didn't do the TED talk. Even though it's easy, but, book. So best-selling book by then as well, for sure. Yeah. Those are a few things.
I love it.
It's so hard for me to think of 5 years because that's like a century in internet land.
Sure.
So those are all goals that should happen in like 2 years, potentially. They already in the works right now. So, you know, but yeah, thank you for asking.
Oh man, you're awesome.
So are you.
This has been a full plate for me. I just feasted on this interview, and I'm about to go like kind of tweak some things about my business like instantly.
Oh wow.
'Cause I got some takeaways. So
cool.
Thank you so much. We will have maybe I'll put the link to the course in here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have a discount?
Ooh, absolutely.
Okay, I just have to ask.
I know.
Because they're going to kill
Put me on the
ask.
spot. I know. No, but I would love that. Just the way, like I said, everyone can feel your heart and your why. And so I know anyone you touch is equally like amazing like you. So like I would love to do that.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
We'll make I don't know what the code is, but social proof. Make the code social proof.
Okay.
And it'll be discounted something. Just make sure y'all click it. Use the code social proof and you'll see the discount. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was an honor. A long time coming. Thank you. I so appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, tell people where to reach you and close us out with a word of wisdom.
Yes, you can reach me at Danielle Leslie on Instagram. And a word of wisdom, I would say, I would say,
I
was about to say it though. Why you gotta hit me with the? It was coming out after
the whole interview.
I know. I was like, can't you just like pull something from and add it right there? I was really about to say it too, and then you just There you go. I mean, I would say that the way.
Take your time, sister. Maybe at church. Take your time. Take your time, sister.
I do feel like I'm in church.
I'm gonna start over.
You're gonna start over?
Yeah. Okay. So
and you think I'm gonna have something by the time you?
100%. Absolutely. So, yes, man. Thank you so much. So funny. Yo, she dropped gems for 90 minutes straight. Yo, this joint was crazy. Okay. So yeah, man, just there's a entrepreneur out there that is just getting going. They don't believe in themselves just yet. And I'd love for you to give them a word of wisdom and take us out of here.
Absolutely. And then do I look at you or the? Because I was like, should I have been looking?
No.
No. It's not going to be like.
No.
You. No? Okay.
No.
All right. I would say to the person starting right now, something that helped me was remembering that so I'm a big believer in time travel and in the eternal present. And so I believe the future. I believe in so that the past me, the 5th grade Danny, is living her life right now, just like the future me in the year 2050 is living her life. That time there is no such thing as time. It's a man-made construct. We invented time so that we could understand the vastness or try to fathom the vastness of the universe and all the things and all the elements. So
the Danielle that came before you got in here, that Danielle's doing something else.
Yeah, the 5th grade Danny, I actually had a moment where I talked to her. And it felt so real. I was in like a hot yoga class and I was essentially like just dealing with me getting in my own way. I was, so my nervous system is like our central nervous system, like our body is addicted to a certain state by default. And it was usually developed in our childhood. So for me, it's a state of stress and anxiety. I feel comfortable there. And by comfortable, I mean uncomfortable, yet comfortable because it's familiar. So when things are going really well, I have nothing to be worried about, like nothing. I will lay down to take a nap and then all the voices will rush in. My heart will start beating and I'll start feeling anxious. So I know that my body is addicted on some level to that state of anxiety and stress. And so it's up to me to not associate meaning to that feeling. But our mind is so trained to be like, oh, there must be something wrong, right? It's the reptilian brain, fight or flight. The heart is palpitating. All the signs are saying there's something wrong. There's a tiger coming. When in reality, everything's fine. It's just my body addicted to that state, trying to return to it. So instead, I'm like, we good, y'all, we good. So I was going through a lot of that. And so I was wanting to have a conversation with younger Danny. And it was like the 6th grade Danny who I think was the one who was at the peak of this like stress and anxiety. And so in the hot yoga class, I went to her. So it was at the end of the class and, I'm in flow. I'm on my back, eyes closed. The music is playing and I'm there. And first I was on the playground with 4th grade Danny and Tiffany, and they were twin sisters and they slapped me on the playground and I was really sensitive and I started crying. And then my mom was like, you should have slapped them back. You're too sensitive. Yes. So I visited her and this was the Danny who my mom said, you're too sensitive. The world is going to think you're weak. Don't cry. So I went back and I told her, I said, your sensitivity is your superpower. Like that's going to help you help so many people. It's okay to cry. So I visited her. Then I visited 6th grade Danny in my bedroom. It was like 3 a.m. I was working on my science project. It was on protozoa, and I had the 3-panel cardboard thing and the little things, you know, with the glue and stuff. And I had waited till the last minute because that's my process. I had made myself feel guilty about it, even though that's my process. It's okay, but I didn't know it. Felt guilty, felt bad. I fell asleep on this side of my bed. I knew that when my mom opened the door, as long as I was on this side of my bed, she wouldn't see me, so I wouldn't get in trouble. So I fell asleep, and I woke up at 3, the lights are on. And so I visited her, and I was like, hey, I'm like, it's all good. Like, it's okay. Like, you're going to be amazing. And I just told her, like, you're going to be amazing. That's it. Like, you're going to be amazing. Just so that she knows, like, future Danny is thriving. Even present Danny is thriving. She's just being too hard on herself. Like, she's not letting herself know, like, oh, my style is to do things at the last minute. Yeah. That's when I'm in flow. That's when I vibe. So I'm going to just wait till the last minute. I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm not going to let my mom get upset or anything. Like, she's going to know, like, I got this. I'm going to get an A. It's going to be all good. So that's what I mean.
But is that how you deal with some of the things that, so for instance, your anxiety of, yo, you're going to get in trouble. Is that your way of dealing with how you are now?
So it's interesting because now my anxiety or stress, there won't necessarily be a trigger for it, except for that things are amazing.
Got it.
So it's like, things are great. The body is like, we need to return to a state of stress and anxiety. Like, there's got to be something we need to be productive about. There's got to be something we should be working on right now. There's got to be something that requires our attention. Something's got to be urgent. Because that's how I was conditioned. I was a high performer. I was always on. I was like, there's got to be something to be doing, got to be productive, got to be learning. So if I'm just like chilling, my body's like, wait, we gotta get going.
Wow. I don't know where we were going.
I know. I'm sorry. I was supposed to just say one thing, and then you were like, let's go there.
You know what? Okay, go ahead. You can close this out. Because now I got mad more questions. Like, okay, the future. Yeah. Okay. No, just close it. Just close it. Goodness gracious. Okay.
Yeah. So for an entrepreneur who's starting, I would say that when I started to believe that the future me has already done it, everything changed. So what I would say is to have the awareness and the certainty that the future you has already done it. Like, the future you has already done it. The future you has already launched. They have already reached the milestones. They're already making 6 figures. Like, seriously, like, you could see they're already thriving. See them and just do your thing. So embody the future you now. What is that future you? When are they waking up in the morning? Are they sleeping until 10, hitting the buzzer? Or are they waking up at 6 a.m.? Are they exercising to get the heart rate up? Are they having the green smoothie? Like, what is the future you doing? And just embody the future you now, and it'll come that much faster.
Wow. Listen, man, you cannot close it out no better than that. Miss Leslie, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Again, not just for the audience, but for myself, for everybody that's like even in the room right now. We appreciate you. You are just a wealth of knowledge. And I'm so glad that you don't do a lot of interviews, because like, there's probably some stuff you shared here that you've never ever shared anywhere. So
that is fact.
Really exciting.
Yeah, thank you again.
Absolutely. Make sure y'all following Danielle Leslie. Okay, her links are in the comment section. So do yourself a favor, follow Danielle. Do yourself another favor, man. Let's start building your course from scratch. Okay, click the link below, type in code social proof, and get that. Okay, you deserve to succeed and thrive more than you're already thriving right now. And the third thing is, go get you some social proof, man. Go build something. But it's very, very important that you go back to your community and you teach them how you built the thing that you built. It's the only way our community grows. We are out of here. Peace.